this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. And today we're going to be talking about the marijuana, the weed. This is talking about weed law. We're here with a person in the industry and how it actually works, operates here in California, some things to know, some of the common struggles they have. People thought years ago was a booming business, why it's harder to have a legal weed operation. Zach Brant, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bobo.
Yeah, so tell everybody a little bit about your background in the industry other than loving the ganja.
Well, I got.
Do you love it?
I gotta love it.
I love it.
Yeah. I got in the industry like 20 years ago in college. Kind of like everybody else, needed to make some money. Learned how to grow. Went to Colorado State. Went back to Chicago, bartending, and then came out to California. And I realized it was already legal here, and there were shops everywhere. So I, figured out how to get a grow going, got my own shop, saw the industry was going to take effect and be legal, and here we are.
Yeah, and I know it took, how long did it take? Because you have a license now. First of all, educate people what kind of license you have, what it means, and what it took you to get it.
So I have a micro-business license, and what that means is we can grow it, we can manufacture, we can distribute our own, and non-retail storefront, so delivery.
Yeah, I know in the beach area of Los Angeles, you had a delivery service for a while during COVID when a lot of people were using those type of things called Relief Club, which I know a lot of people, RELEAF, very, very, very good there, Zach. I like what you did there, Relief Club. But tell me what kind of the common struggles are with having a delivery service and how hard it is to kind of comply.
Well, the regulations are ridiculous. Kind of like people that didn't know how to play the game made the rules. So they made it really difficult for operators. It's really expensive to get into. The cities, like our city, it took us 2 years to get actually open from the time they approved us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're losing money every single month.
Yeah, every month we were losing money. And they were kicking the can down the road like, hey, 2 weeks, next month, in 2 months we'll be open. So 22 months later, we were the first operators in that city. And it's been a struggle with the city fees, the taxes, the lack of retail locations for operators to make money in the industry.
Yeah, so can you give us some specifics, like, when you're doing a grow, like I assume you're growing the plants, growing the weed, like what happens after that?
You got to grow it, then you get it tested, hopefully packaged on shelves, but there's a logjam getting the product into the legal market because of the lack of retail storefronts. So
when you say lack of retail storefronts, so people go to the store here in California, a lot of them now have closed down because they just can't operate.
Yeah, so when Prop 64 is what made it regulated. And with Prop 64, the state decided that it was going to be decriminalized. So there was no fear of going to jail or prosecution for selling, cultivating, any of that stuff. I forget the exact year. I think it was like 2014 or 2016 when Prop 64 went into effect. Prior to that, since like 1998, it was medical, which was great because it was, people had their collectives, you could have home grow, and it was just kind of like a free market without taxation. Crime wasn't really as rampant as it has been since it's been legal. But I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, let's talk about the legal stuff. So whenever you're legal, I know there's kind of a target on your back because people know where you have a grow because you have it on your license. Does that actually does it make you more susceptible to crime and theft? I assume it has to.
Yeah, I was operating from 2011 until 2019 under medical, never had any robbery situation. And then the city put a picture of our building on the newspaper when they approved us. We got broken into before we were even operating, caused a bunch of damage. Then once we were operating, we had 2 burglaries in 1 year, which really hurt our production and our ability to get product on shelves because we basically had to start from scratch all over again.
And then, do you have insurance that covers that? How does that work?
Yeah, so we did have insurance, thankfully for those, but we got dropped by our insurance because of the risk, I guess. So this last 2 years we've been operating without
So they make you, I mean, so you get insurance to insure against the theft. The city then puts a target on your back because they're telling the world where you have your grow at. And then the insurance companies, after a couple claims, like, we can't insure you anymore because of the risk the city put you in.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds so fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, the city, it's like they're trying to please everybody. So there's a couple like squawking hens that go to all the city council meetings that they got to appease them, and they didn't really want cannabis. So like our city, which a lot of other cities did, was they'll license cultivators, manufacturers, delivery, but we'll get into the delivery issue in a second, and distributors, but they won't license storefront retail because they don't want the negative public optics of it. So our city issued 25 or 27 approvals for manufacturing and cultivation and 0 retail. So we got to sell that product somehow, and we can't do it without retail.
So what your other options are these people? I know other grows are just selling out the back door to illegal.
Yeah, I mean, people do whatever they have to do, I guess, but nobody wants to be doing that. I mean, everybody was excited for it to be legal because it's like, oh, we don't need to worry about prosecution and things are going to be great, and we're going to make so much money.
Well, talk us about, because you also have a process where they have to regulate and approve your product before it gets there, right? So what's that process like? Whenever you have the grow and before you package it and sell it, don't you have a regulatory process that you have to go through?
Yeah, it all goes through trace and track, so from seed to sale, and then you have to get everything tested after it's packaged. So like bulk flour, you can get tested and then it'll go into packages, but every joint is in its own package. If you got a 2-pack of joints, but it's the same joints with the same product, that's 2 separate tests.
Wow, and that costs money every single time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a minimum of $400, $400 or $500 per SKU. So, if you got
Wow.
20 different SKUs.
So now I assume that makes it the weed, or you're buying product that's so much more expensive than the illegal market because they don't have to go through the testing, don't have to go through the regulations, don't have to pay every single time to verify the product's clean.
Yeah, or it's basically like a 50% tax as well. So they make it more difficult to get because you have to go to these areas that have legal dispensaries, which, like, we live in South Bay, so that's like 25 minutes away. And then we pay 50% more to buy a legal product.
And I mean, I think that's why, do you think that's why people are seeing a spike in, fentanyl-laced stuff because they're going illegal?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what you're getting when you're buying it illegally. You don't know what, if there's any sort of pesticides or anything else, pathogens in there.
So walk us through, if you have a pound of flour, pound of weed, whatever. Like, how does it work as far as, like, how much is that worth? How much does the government take? How much profit can you actually make off of it?
It depends. I mean, getting it packaged is like the only way to make any money now, because the price has gone down so far because it's, like I said, it's a logjam getting in. So it's a race to the bottom with pricing for wholesale bulk flour.
So there's a lot of weed and not a lot of places to put it.
Right. Not a lot of legal places. Yeah, the demands here is just getting it into the legal market. So they got rid of the cultivation tax a couple years ago, but they're set to bring that back at $161 per pound of flour.
So what's a pound of flour generally worth?
Right now for indoor, like top-notch bulk, it's like $1,200, from $800 to $1,200 in there. Outdoor.
So they're already taking about $200 off of that.
Yeah, I mean, well, right now they got rid of the cultivation tax, but it's set to go back into effect next year because they're running at such a deficit for the tax money they collected. So yeah, you take that in effect, then if you get it hand trimmed, you're paying anywhere between $100 to $150 just to have it trimmed. And we haven't even talked about rent, labor, nutrients, testing, any of that goes into it.
So by the time you're looking at, let's call it $1,000, how much net profit can you actually make with legal grow? $50?
If you're lucky.
Wow.
Yeah, for an indoor place, unless you've got such high volume where you can, you're producing it with very minimal labor, machine trimming it, all that.
So what are some things that the legislature, what can they do to make this this industry actually be profitable and be healthy for its citizens, for its taxpayers?
Number one, we need more retail. Like, the tax could be survivable if you could buy flour or marijuana products like you could buy alcohol. Every gas station, liquor store, grocery store, I don't know how many I passed on the way here, but there's a ton of them. So that's number one. We could probably survive the high tax with that, but the cultivation tax, it's insurvivable. If they reinstitute that,
If they reinstitute, what does that mean?
so if they next year they're talking about bringing back the $161 per pound of flower cultivation tax.
Now you're negative every single time. If they bring that tax in, there's no way to survive.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's especially for an outdoor farmer. I mean, they're already getting $200, $300 a pound for their flower, and then they're gonna have to pay half of that in tax. Like
Wow.
it
Because
doesn't
you're the
pencil out.
1,000, the 800 to 1,200. That's for very high end strain, doing it the right way. But your run of the mill farmers getting $300-400.
Yeah, if they're lucky. So yeah, the tax issue, the excise tax right now is at 15%, plus the state and city taxes, and they're like double taxing, and the CDTFA and the cities are like pointing the finger at each other, like, oh, well, we're supposed to get that tax first. No, we get the tax first, and it's like
That's brutal.
nobody wants to make a decision. Nobody wants to
You're
change
taxed at the state level. You're taxed at the city level.
Yeah.
Both.
it. Yeah. And then you have city fees, like we have a community benefits fee, $50,000 per business, doesn't matter how big you are, that goes right to the city, and who knows where that goes.
So, I mean, who are people actually writing the laws that understand this industry?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? So what other things can we do? If we're talking legislator right now, get rid of some of these taxes, have more legal operations to be able to sell it,
Yeah.
right? What else can we be doing?
I mean, if they just taxed it like everything else,
Just the sales tax.
yeah, they've created, the black market is stronger now than it's ever been because they decriminalized and they're taxing the legal market out of existence and making it too difficult to get to.
That's why we're seeing a lot of people being harmed by illegal products that you don't know what you're getting. So if we have more, I mean, in an ideal world, it's in every gas station, it's every grocery store, it's just a sales tax, and you're just letting the people be able to operate the business to get legal marijuana, legal weed that is actually passed all the tests to make sure that it is in it what is said is in it. Is that the idea?
Yeah, or let the operators that know what they're doing, because there's a culture around it. So it's like, that's why MedMen failed. Nobody wants Walmart weed. So they come in and expect.
Speaking of high-end weed, you own a brand called Platinum Funk.
That's right.
And I think you have some, and for people that are watching, I mean, you could reach out to Zach or me, maybe you can find a way to have you sample some of this for very, very like educational R&D purposes, but this beautiful, yeah, so this is Platinum Funk, and if we can see, like, bringing up the camera here, but it's pretty sweet. Packaging looks fantastic.
Chocolate-covered cherries right there.
Chocolate-covered cherries.
Tastes like cherry cordials.
Like cherry cordials. Wow, look at that. That is some nice bud. Is that what we call it?
Yeah, bud, flower.
Look at that. The American flag on there, a little warning on the back. Well done, Zach. Platinum Funk. I feel like I'm going to get a hat that says that.
You will.
I love it. Love it strong. So, Zach, how do people get a hold of you?
You get us up on Instagram, at Platinum Funk, info@platinumfunk.com.
Yeah. And then so do you service all of California with your product? How does that work?
We're trying to. We're just getting back into stores. Like we had those burglaries a couple years ago, so it's been just a grind getting, a foothold so that we can put product out. That's the other issue that we didn't really get into is the retailers paying their bills. So the retailers need to pay their taxes first because CDTFA will just go in and tilt tap them, and so they're not paying the vendors. So it's like a trickle down effect where the whole industry is upside down.
Wow. It seems like if they talk to industry people, there's a real way to cure it and a real way for the state to actually make a lot of money if they know how to do it correctly.
You would think so.
You would think so. Well, Zach, thanks for coming on. Go to @Platinum Funk. We much appreciate having you on. If any lawyers that are out there listening, if you're interested in this area of law or helping out these type of industries, reach out to Zach, reach out to the show, go to justicesteamnetwork.com. While we cannot condone drug use, we can say that it does have very high medicinal purposes that can be used for sleep aid. We have a lot of our clients use it for chronic pain. And I want to thank you for the very civic duty you're doing for the American citizens, Zach Brant.
Happy to help.
And I first met Zach whenever he was an extra on a baseball movie called, was it 42? Was that the name of the movie?
That was Jesse was the guy. He just brought me along.
Yeah. So a friend of ours was an actor in that movie, played the second baseman, Eddie Stanky, and we played on the same baseball team, and all my friend Jesse Lucan said was, we have a new player for you. He generally described Zach, and we gave him the name Big Pun for Big Punisher because he rode up on a motorcycle with bats in his backpack and had a big skull in the front that looked like the Punisher. So from then, he was Big Pun. Big Pun went on to dominate the league for a year until they found out he can't hit a curveball. And that was
Thanks
that.
for throwing that in there.
So he's also,
don't let anybody else know though.
so he has succeeded we have a team called Los Guapos de los Estados Unidos, which Zach has been the manager for after I have been for many years. And for many years of losing the championship, finally overcame it.
Yeah, but we still lose in the LABL. We haven't won that one yet.
Yeah. So maybe one.
Beverly
year,
Hills, we're
if
back
you want
to
any
back
swag for Los Guapos de los Estados Unidos, it's very, very, very fine stuff.
I almost wore a T-shirt today. We got new T-shirts.
Oh man, I love it. I miss playing baseball with you guys. Zach, it was a pleasure having you on. Onward, upward.
Thanks, buddy.
I wish you were the highest of things. And listen to the Justice Team Network to get the highest verdicts. Thank you for listening.